Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Well Red Beard. It's a damn fine day to talk about a book, and today we are here for a book review, and we're going to talk about Lily by Daniel Barnett. This is part 6 in the Nightmareland saga, Nightmareland series. Saga sounds better, doesn't it? This book is fucking amazing. I love this book. I love it for the horror. I love it for the depth of the characters. I love it for the additional depth to the characters that we get. I love it for the lull, and I'll explain the lull here in a second. And I love it for the dialogue and the beautiful prose. This thing is just chock full of those beautiful bits of prose that I love. That's all the shit that I marked while reading it. The cards represent things I want to tell you about here because I cannot tell you about all of that. But you got to read this series. You have to go back and start with number one. They are all good. I think they've all been 4 and 5 stars for me. Most of them 4. But this book here, it is it just solidifies like everything I've done to this point. This book, in my humble opinion, I know there's a lot of disagreement on this stuff, is why you can't rank them all 5 stars, because this is the one that has been coming for me. I mean, every good book that I gave 3 stars to, every great book that I gave 4 stars to it, every perfect reading experience for me, which is basically what 5 stars means for me, is at that time that book was a perfect reading experience for me. All of that stuff, what was building to me being able to say this book is all the stars. I mean, I can't go higher than 5, but if I could, I would. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to say that it's my number one independent horror novel that I've read ever. I've been doing this for 3 to 4 years now. I've read a lot of great small press independent horror novels. This one is the cream. This one is the best, in my humble opinion. It's just this perfect intersection of apocalypse, just enough intrigue and mystery, and not really knowing what's happening. The horror elements to it are ridiculously cool. And again, we start with the sun going out, the sun going away, darkness everywhere. Then comes the lullaby, this mysterious child singing through radios and televisions and any type of tech that is putting people to sleep. And there's a depth to that element too. There's a depth to that piece, like that wasn't necessarily this evil thing, but when people were put to sleep, then their nightmares started to manifest for those that were still awake. I mean, we have real life nightmares coming to earth, coming to life in front of us. I mean, and all kinds of things. I mean, gigantic Christ-like figures in the sky, religious nightmares, devils and demons, and monsters, and cities full of blood, and all these wonderful things that are played out in front of us. We have to deal with them, but the author also does the thing where he writes in the confusion and the disorientation that comes along with a nightmare, right? I mean, it's not just a bad guy in front of us that we have to focus on. I mean, the edges are blurry. We've got tunnel vision, and things that you may reach for a weapon, it's not a weapon. All those weird elements that happen in real life nightmares are put on the page here. And for me, that part, while the horror in this series is not my favorite part, my favorite part is the prose, and we'll get into that in a second. But the horror is just so well done. It's just so I don't know, just refreshing, different, perfect. Perfect's the word I'm looking for. And you know me, I don't like throwing that word around, but this book for me personally was perfect. And we're only halfway. We're only halfway. Now, according to Mr. Barnett, like before he I think loosely, before he published volume one. He had the first 5 volumes written, and then he wrote this one, and now he wants to kind of write the rest before he gives us any more. But this is a nice little stopping point. I don't want to talk to you too much about the stopping point, but things are things are dark still, and we end this thing on a note. I don't want to tell you what kind of note. Jeez. But things are kind of wrapped. Like the first half's kind of wrapped. We're like advancing. We're going on to do something else, and so now we have to wait. We have to wait for I don't know. I don't know if it's 6 more volumes or what it is, but he said he wants to kind of write it all to before publishing more. So, but it's just absolutely excellent. It's an excellent dystopian, apocalyptic, whatever you want to call it. Survivor story. Just the characters. The characters are so deep, and this book adds a lot more to that depth. So, we get a part, and when I talked about the law before, so John and Mariah and Marcos, they're our main characters, and they are in the end of volume 5. John saves Marcos from the hockey arena. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but and they're moving on. They're trying to get to John's brother Marshall's cabin out in the middle of nowhere, and kind of refresh, hold up, get some rest. But ultimately, Lily is an airplane, and John's brother Marshall had an airplane, and John is trying to bring that plane back to life so he can fly to the coast of Maine, because that's where his daughter and his grandson are at. And at the beginning of this, he got a call from them. It's a strange daughter. Estranged. Did I say that clearly? Estranged daughter called and said, we need you, or I need you. Your grandson needs you. And so he's trying to get out there, from Wyoming. Is that right? Is it Wyoming? I don't know. He's trying to get out to Maine to help his daughter and his grandson. And there's a lot deeper bits as far as his grandson's role in the story, but I don't really want to go into that either. But so there's this lull while we're at the cabin. John, if you remember, John John heard the lullaby, but then busted up the radio with his hand. His hand is severely damaged, but he did not. He kind of went to sleep, but they kind of brought him out of it. Like he didn't get put under all the way, but now he doesn't sleep anymore. Like he's still alive, but there's a level of difference to that, to what being alive for John Hawthorne means. We get a ridiculously cool backstory excuse me, about John and Marshall, why they are the way they are, why John is this hard man, quick to violence, a story about their upbringing, very, very, wilderness-like setting, their upbringing with their father, and the things that you had to do to come of age under their father's rule. And it deals with that's where the wolf on the front, it deals with a literal pack of wolves, and that part of the story, I want to tell you the things that John did in that part of the story, but not gonna. But that backstory piece, it's just ridiculous. And we've come to know John over the course of 5 volumes, and now we really know him. We really know who he is and why he is the way that he is. The book is just absolutely excellent. And I've talked for 9 minutes. I want to give you some of these prose bits. I want to tell you what I mean when I say that Barnett's writing sentences and he's phrasing situations in ways that stand outside the story. I mean, you'll read these lines and you're like, God damn, that's beautiful. And I love that shit. I just love it. But anyway, so let me share some with you. And again, I may struggle a bit here. I may struggle because I've marked these, but I may struggle to find exactly the line that I want to read to you. So give me a break. But this one, I tweeted this one when I read it. It's just a simple line, but it says, time has its own acoustics, especially in the places which lie closest to the heart. Time has its own acoustics, especially in the places which lie closest to the heart. Fucking hell. Um, there's just so many examples of that. So let me see here. So they're on the run from what happened with the flashlighters. Again, I can't spend too much time on backstory, but flashlighters was volume 3 or 4. It was volume 4, I think. They're something happened when they left the flashlighters, that the flashlighters are following them. They're going to follow them all the way to Marshall's cabin. But along the way, these villains become less villain-like. I mean, we feel their side of things too. And let me see here. I don't know if I'm going to get this right, but Gregory could feel the air getting cooler, cleaner. Gregory's like the lead of these people that are on their trail. Cooler, cleaner, freshened by steel green pine trees and fading maples whose leaves were turning red and yellow and brown without the sun. Pretty, those leaves. Soon they would fall, and there would be no more to replace them. He missed Carla. He missed Father Ammon. He missed Sam. Here we go. Here's what I was trying to get to. Why was the world so full of irreplaceable things? How could you hold on to anything good when everything worth holding on to broke so easily? It seemed like a design flaw to him to make light so fragile and dark so lasting. God. Wow. So let's do another one. Let's see if I can find this one. Just so there's this part where Gregory, again, he's kind of one of our villains here. When really the apocalyptic end of the world monsters are the villains, but he's on our trail, and there's just one part where he has to make a stand and kind of push the other characters on down the road away from him, and he it says he kissed her because she was beautiful and because she was there. It was not a romantic kiss, just a necessary one. Run, and don't look back. He's telling her to run, but it was not a romantic kiss, just a necessary one. I feel like it's taking me too long to find these things. All right, so again, there's the lull, and while Marcos is in the lull at the cabin, he's reading one of Marshall's books, and it's the Count of Monte Cristo, and he's reading it, and we're not reading it along with him, but we're kind of watching his progress a bit, and they're talking about the book, and again, a bit of foreshadowing, for our book. But he said it was a good book. There was hope in it. He expressed this to Marshall, who replied, "All the best stories have hope, Marcos, and don't listen to anyone who tries to tell you otherwise." So again, I love books within books, but just that all the best stories have hope. Got a few more here, maybe more than a few. There's all these things. It was everything else. All right, so this is about the road. Again, this is great from Gregory's perspective. He's on the road, and it said it was all these things, and it was everything else: the wet and cold, the exhaustion. The road wore on you. It whittled you down until all your angles were crooked and sharp, and you didn't fit right inside yourself. Cool ass line. So I want to tell you, yeah, and then just little bits like this, like Mariah's talking to Isaac, and it's talking about this is not one of the best ones, but I'm already like pulled into it. But he talks about they're gonna have to find Marcos a new book soon. Says, "We'll have to find your boy a new book soon," Isaac said. "He's almost to the end." "Yes," she replied, with a vague tickle of dread. almost to the end. There's a scene late in this book, and I want to talk about it now because and then I'll come back and try to find the right sentences for these final ones. But there's a scene late in the book where now you remember Marcos is hearing impaired, and he picks up Marshall's guitar. It's cabin, a fireplace. It's dark in there. He picks up and he starts playing. He doesn't know how to play. He's also hearing impaired. So he's playing this guitar, and we know John is leaving. John has got the plane fixed up. He's going to get on the plane and fly to Maine, and Mariah and Marcos are not going to go. They're going to stay here with Marshall and Marshall's lover slash boyfriend, maybe husband, I can't remember, Isaac. So, but there's a scene, and Marcos picks up the guitar and starts playing. Again, doesn't know how to play, hearing impaired. And John gets up and starts dancing with Mariah. I mean, just the darkness, the fireplace, the imperfections of all of that, and of a hearing impaired kid playing a guitar that he does not know how to play, and the ability for John and Mariah to be able to dance in that situation. There was perfection in all of that imperfection, and the scene just killed me. I just loved that damn scene. So I'm going to try to find a couple more of these things. We're talking about John's past. John's wife, John was not a very good husband or a father, but we find out that he is, he has had his share of situations, share of brokenness to make him that way. But he talked about why would she leave them? Why would she leave their children with John? He says, or Marshall says, I'm not convinced she had a choice, or that she would have been able to recognize it if she did. Spend long enough in a tunnel, and you don't see who's standing next to you in the dark anymore. You only see the other side. Beautiful shit. John, I think it's John, maybe it's Marshall. Maybe we're talking about Mariah, and he says he turned to Mariah and took her in by the lantern's subdued glow. She was beautiful in the light, and she was beautiful in shadow, but she was loveliest in between, in the margin where reality met memory and softened into dream. It wasn't that she was kind on the eyes, although she was. It was simply her, the whole of her. Damn, tell your girl she's beautiful without telling her she's beautiful. Wow. All right, here we go. We're talking about John and his capacity for violence. Once in a great while, a child is born capable of the extraordinary, the unbelievable. You hear about them, the little girl playing Beethoven before her 4th birthday, the 12-year-old chess whiz knocking off grandmasters. That was John when it came to killing. He had a genius in him for violence. There was a glint of teeth in his genetic code. Our father felt his eldest son's unusual talent and nurtured it from an early age. He even feared it some, I think, and there was not a thing in this world that Arlo Hawthorne feared which he had not first admired. He had a genius in him for violence. And I think that's it. That is the stuff that I wanted to share with you because the last thing I've marked here is the scene of the perfect imperfection of Marcos playing the guitar and John and Mariah dancing. This is not a happy story by any shape of the way, but it is a beautiful story, and for me, it's perfection. It's I do this to myself. It's January, and I'm going to tell you that this is my favorite independent small press novel of all time. I got to go before people start coming in here because apparently there's some noise going on out there. But so everything else this year is up to try to knock it off the top spot. But here we are, January, and I've read a book like this. I'm in the middle of something. I'll be done in a second. Sorry about that. Anyway, this is Lily, Daniel Barnett. Phenomenal 5+ all the stars. This is Well Read Beard. This has been my review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying all your books as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.